Thank you. What do you guys see on the slides?
It looks good. Yeah, sorry, Kara.
All right. Well, thanks for being here. As Renee said, I'm Bobbi, and we started running a provider resilience series because we think that's what people need out there. The work is hard and complex, and there seems no end of stressors and difficulties that we need to endure. We know our workforce is suffering, and we know that there's a workforce crisis really across the board. So we thought we'd talk again about provider resilience. Today is part 2, and I didn't stutter. It says 22222 because I just feel like it won't end. And so here's more information about provider resilience. This time we'll focus on body and mind. And for that, I brought along my colleague, Holly Jones. Holly, how you doing? You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Holly Jones. I work for the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities. I'm the Cross Systems Northwest Regional Liaison, but I also dabble in a lot of the mind-body wellness space too.
You sure do. And would you like to walk us through the neuroscience, at least from your perspective of stress, anxiety, burnout, depression?
Yeah, so we're talking about the ongoing accumulation of stress. And so when we have chronic stress, it leads to excess cortisol. And so excess cortisol leads to inflammation. And so if you've ever had inflammation, you know that it leads to a host of problems. Sometimes that could be GI issues. It could be, it could be infertility. It could be cardiovascular. And
certainly all those aches and pains, right? Just all of those aches and pains. I once heard some physicians saying that all illness is stemmed somehow in inflammation.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah, and we still tend to treat the mind and body separately. I mean, I do have hope. I believe things are starting to happen. But the other thing is that physical and systemic diseases can lead to depression. And we've seen that with COVID.
So if you were with us several weeks ago now, actually more than a month ago now, I put this slide up asking how many symptoms have you experienced in the last 30 days? But today my question is, Holly, how many of these kinds of symptoms do you think might be stemmed in this kind of chronic, ongoing, overwhelming stress that you just talked about?
Well, probably all of them. The hypervigilance we see when, again, that chronic stress in our system leads that part of the brain or that area of the brain around the amygdala, that fear center, to be on all the time, which then reduces the part of our brain that helps us make good choices. So we lose that connection between where we need to be safe and where we need to make safe choices. So you've probably heard about is it a snake or is it a garden hose? And if we're always under that chronic stress, we might misinterpret things and react. So we've also seen this in the Olympics. So, I mean, Simone Biles is very outspoken about the accumulation of expectation. And I think, the other thing that COVID taught us is that people left their places of employment because of the accumulated stress. And the number one reason that I have heard, if they didn't lose their job, if they chose to leave their job, it was because of the toxic environment.
I'm afraid that I've heard very similar things, Holly. However, we do think there's a solution to much of what we're talking about here. And it really centers on strengthening you, making sure that our providers can stand up under all the accumulated stress. But it's not just about being strong enough to stand up. It's about taking care of yourself. So how do we stay resilient throughout all of this stuff? Holly has a suggestion.
Yeah, so I love that slide of the superhero. So what I had in mind was we can all be, and we are, superheroes. So you can do this seated, or if you want, I'll try to come to standing. If you can still see me, you could come to standing too. And take a stance with your feet underneath your hips and then your hands on your hips. So I know you can't see my face. Sorry about that. I'm still here. this sort of stance that we have, we could do this at any time. No one would think that we were actually practicing, quote, self-care right now, but we are. So before you enter someone's space, whether that's their home, their school, maybe a hospital bed, if you just take this stance and feel your feet underneath you, so feel and tune into the bottoms of your feet, and notice how your heels and the balls of your feet make contact with the floor. Now, maybe you're wearing shoes, that's fine. You're wearing shoes. You can still make contact with your feet because I'm bringing your awareness there. You have to kind of think about that. What does it feel like? Maybe you can spread your toes and wiggle your toes a little bit. And then with your feet pressing down, can you lift up the inside of your legs? So imagine, go inside your legs and imagine them lifting you up. And then that energy lifts you up all the way through your torso. And if you want, you can outstretch your arms here and take up even more space. Sometimes we forget how much space we're entitled to. So imagine right now the world revolves around you. This is like your adolescent moment. And breathe into your full extension of your body. Breathe into every cell. Breathe into the space behind you, above you, below you, and the space between your fingers and toes. So that's just a quick little thing that you can do. So self-care doesn't have to be a big deal, right? In fact, the easier it is, the more likely we are to do it.
But why yoga, Holly?
So yoga, unlike other forms of self-care like exercise, yoga is more about inner size. So we're balancing our hormones. So again, we're trying to reduce the overproduction of cortisol. So by practicing yoga, especially slow, mindful yoga, and yoga that's incorporated with meditation, breath awareness, all those elements bring that inner size and affect our vagus nerve, which I'll say more about. But our hormones include GABA, norepinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine. So when we get those hormones in balance, we're more likely to be aware of our choices and create a little space between action and reaction.
We're going to buzz through this slide. Everybody buckle up, because this slide has a stack of benefits if you practice some mindful yoga. Do you want to run through these, Holly?
I don't need to say everything about every point, but I just want to say, so the vagus nerve roughly from the low belly goes up to our brain, right? And it's this like super highway. So there's messages. So imagine like rush hour, 6-lane highway, and 5 of those lanes are going from your belly to your brain. That's your vagus nerve. And so it's constantly saying, is everything okay? It's looking out for safety. If we can do simple things to make sure that this is all functioning well, we then can go out into the world and do what we need to do from a place of authenticity, authentic power, not fear or not aggression. So we can do one simple thing here. It's with the ears. So you're just going to take your thumb and your first finger, and you're just going to like pull. Here, I'll try to sit this way. So you're just going to like pull your ear. So you can go to the inside and pull, and just notice. Now you're doing this gently. I'm saying pull, but it's like a squeeze, like a gentle squeeze. You can go into the inside and squeeze. And then on the outside, pull gently your earlobe. And you can do that on both sides. Now, if you have more time, you do one side and then pause and then do the other side. But so simple things like this are accessing that vagus nerve. So you might start to notice maybe you want to yawn or you want to swallow. That's when you know you've stimulated your vagus nerve. Okay. Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm very excited about this. DODD is working very close to launching the Wellness Project. And this started during COVID. State agencies were trying to find a way to support staff who were dealing with a lot of extra emotions. And how do we help people? You know, we're asking people to do a lot more. How do we help support them? So we started collecting a lot of these resources. So we're working on sharing these resources with the masses. So there's different tabs across the top. This one that says watch will have recorded webinars. So for example, if you're familiar, we had Laura Pele do a 2-part series with us. This provider wellness and resilience series is there. So part 1, hopefully part 2 and 3 will be up as well. The other tabs include readings. So certain books, Bessel van der Kolk's book, of course. Listen our podcasts, episodes, as well as shows. So like Brene Brown and some really dynamic speakers. Taste is all about healthy recipes or snacks or things that support your wellness. Explore is going to be learning about more things. So like grief resources, staff wellness rooms. So you can see the download over there. We've got a gallery of pictures from different developmental centers, staff wellness rooms. We've got a survey that people can take to evaluate how their staff wellness room is working out for them. And then experience is linking to a YouTube channel where you can do more of the mind-body practices that I'm offering.
And this is just a slide where what you'll see when you first click on that experience tab there. And this area is focused on self-care for caregivers. We also wanted to make sure that you knew how rooted in science all of this is. Even though Holly and I both enjoy meditative and yoga practices, it's not just about it's cool, it looks cool, it feels good. It is really brain-based and very supported as a way to take care of yourself.
Okay, so now I'm going to offer you some sort of tools. I'm calling it a menu of tools because I want you to have these tools with you at all times. So we're going to start just seated. I'm going to back up just a little bit. So if you're in a office chair, you might want to lock your wheels so that you're not rolling all around. But I want you to come to the edge of your chair so that your feet are on the ground. And place your hands on your legs. I'm going to back up a little bit more. Good? Okay.
Yep.
So with your hands, you're going to start at the top of your legs. So it's kind of like this. And press your hands down into your legs and then feel your feet make contact with the floor. And then you're going to slide your hands up an inch. So we're moving towards our knees. So do about 3 or 4. Move your hands up an inch, squeeze, move your hands up, squeeze, and squeeze. So feel your legs. Our legs are supporting us all day long. And how much time do we really give them attention? And then when you get to your knees, make some circular motion with your fingers. And then just rest your hands. And now find your sitting bones in your chair. So if you need to lean from one side to the other to find that, find those sitting bones and find your heels. Now let your gaze be soft. So you don't have to look at me. You can look at the floor. You can look at the screen if you want to, that's fine. Just let your gaze be soft. If you want, you can also close your eyes, whatever feels right for you. So pressing your sits bones into your chair and pressing your heels into the floor, this is what's supporting you. So we have resources, we just sometimes forget that they're available. So right now our chair and our floor are our resources. So see if you can press down into them so much that it feels like you're making contact even beyond that. So like if you were making contact with the earth beneath you. And from here, especially if your hands are on your legs, see if you can lengthen up through your spine. So when you press your sits bones down, see if you can lengthen your tailbone and lengthen all the way through the crown of your head. And notice what happens across your chest. So now I'm going to ask you to do everything wrong. So just slouch, lean back, do whatever you would normally do if you were like kicking back. And now I want you to notice your breath in this position, this like, hey. Notice your breath, notice your chest, notice your back. And now come back into rooting yourself into the floor. So this is our mountain pose. So we can do this standing or seated, and it's just a different mindset. It's a shift in our presence. And notice your breath here. So as we get rooted, we have space in our body to expand. So take your fingertips to your shoulders and notice that this is the width of your frame. And then roll your elbows up, back, and down. And now notice across your chest how it feels to breathe. Again, do your slouch. Now, sometimes this is how we show up, right? So we're already showing up in this like concave way. And sometimes I think we get it backwards. Like we think that if we're this way, we're more vulnerable, but really, wouldn't it be this way is more vulnerable? Because now everything's coming at me. So come into your mountain pose and breathe and feel your back body. So our back body, we have a lot of space to breathe on our back body that we forget about. But imagine that you can connect with the back of not just your body, but the wall behind you. And now we're going to do some massage. So that's one technique, right? That's mountain pose. Anyone, anywhere, you can do mountain pose. So the next one, we're going to do some self-massage. So you're just going to start with a hand. And if we had time, we would do each finger. You know, you would do each finger like this, but we're doing this sort of in speed fashion. And then doing your arm. So just kind of squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. When you get to your elbow, make some circular motion there and squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. And then pat yourself on the back. And you can use your fingertips too. So you could do a fingertip tap. And then tap down your arm, both sides. And then shake. So shake low, shake it up high. Shake it out to the side. You could even shake it on a lean. And then really shake everything off. And then like you're wiping it away. Wipe it away. And now pause, bring both hands back to your lap and just pause. And what do you notice? So pausing between each movement is just as important as the movement because you're building that interoceptive awareness. So then doing the other side, again, massage your hand. And I would spend more time doing all of this stuff. Your wrist, you can make some circles and then squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. So we kind of forget our space, you know, where our body is in space. Sometimes we just go about our day living in our mind and we kind of forget that, oh, this is our vessel, right? This is our container. Give yourself some padding. And you can give yourself some praise. When you give yourself a pat on the back, you can say, oh, good job in that meeting, or good job with that troubleshooting, whatever you do. And then shake it out. And again, the shaking, we did this last time. I love it because when we are helpers, we're taking on, right? And we're being very, hopefully, empathetic, but all of that's coming into us. So we have to find a way to release it and get it off of us. So you're just kind of like pretending like, okay, I take things in, but I don't have to hold on to them. I can let it go. And then let it go. And then from here, you'll take, this is a Peter Levine thing. So you'll take your right hand and place it around your rib cage. And then your left arm comes around and you hug yourself. And breathe here. And with your arms here, you can actually feel how much breath you can get from your back body. And then release that. Let's see, I have 5 minutes. Do I have 5 minutes?
You don't.
Okay, well, all right, everybody just rub your hands together. This is the last thing we'll do then. So when you rub your hands together, the friction creates a little bit of heat, and you can apply that heat. Either you can cover your eyes, you can close your eyes and cover your eyes, or you can place your hands at your heart, whatever you feel called to do. I'm going to place my hands on my heart. You do you. If your eyes are closed, that's perfectly fine. Just notice either your heartbeat or the warmth of your hands, and just find one quality here that speaks to you, one thought, one sensation, something that resonates. And then rub your hands together again. And then when you're ready, you'll open your eyes. Hopefully your camera's on. And we're gonna take our palms to the screen. So we are connected virtually, yes, but we're also connected in more ways. So whatever quality, sensation, thought you had, you're sharing that now with all the people that are in this group. And you're also receiving all those qualities from them. And then you can bring that back to your heart. Thank you so much. Be well, everyone.
Thank you, Holly, and thanks everybody for being here for this didactic. We do have a handout of those slides. Hopefully that wellness project will be live soon. And I'll see you in another month with another resiliency practice for providers. Thanks, Holly.